Hello, this is for the presenter of the third Bible Tell. Be a man of God, be faithful to the end. And the Bible event is Jesus the Good Shepherd. In this experience, the Bible event happens after the sons have been led blindfold through the woods by only listening to their father's voice. This is how it sets up. First of all, divide your dads into a group by themselves and then the sons into a group by themselves. So you'll need an assistant to talk to the sons while the dads are being addressed. So what do you say to the dads?
Well, there's the handout called Anticipating Conversations with Your Son has a piece on the back side of that, or the second page, that talks all about the different things that can be learned from this trust walk. So that's what you'll have in hand for those dads. Now, you'll hand that out at the orientation. We highly recommend that you email it or send it to the dads who don't make it to the orientation so that they can be thinking about this in advance, because it's a little bit on the complicated side. And then it's also necessary at the retreat for the dads who haven't yet gotten around to it to hear it from your lips how this works. And you just walk them through how they start with their sons blindfolded and how they wait to give their son the baton until they've been listening for their voice for a while. It's all in the script for you to follow.
And you want to make sure that you do have the right materials ready to give to the dads at that time. They'll need to have some tissue so that they can put them in the eye so there's no cheating, and then wrap this around their eyes of their son. So the other person who is going to be talking to the sons asks them a very simple question. Tell me about a time when you've been lost, and let the kids talk about that. There'll be a lot of chattering. And then take them to the next experience and say, well, if you were lost, and if you were lost where you didn't know where you were going at all, whose voice would you trust to lead you out of it? I just want you to think about that. Now, here come your dads, and there's going to be something happening that, you know what, you could be a little bit in the dark for a while, and I hope none of you guys smack one of these trees over, because they're going to know they're in the woods. And the more challenging, by the way, you make it, the better. And the more challenging some of the dads make it, the better. Like sometimes the farther away they get and the more difficult the obstacle course they lead their son through by calling his name and giving him specific directions, left and right, 10 steps this way. It's a wonderful experience for the son to listen keenly to their dad's voice, because if they don't, they're going to be in trouble.
And we always encourage the dads to not rush this piece, the part where they're leading with just their voice, but to just let their son enjoy walking in the dark for a while. And that will help bring home the teaching that sometimes life can be hard, but we need to listen for the voice of our Father. And it's also a time for dads to say to their sons, you know, son, sometimes you're going to be walking through some experiences where you're going to feel very much alone and a bit lost. I want you to know I am always here for you. And that's what that baton is about, too.
Yeah, and some of that happens then after they talk about the entire experience.
Yeah, that's how they debrief it later.
So now that they've gone through the woods and the maze, they finally ended up at one place. You choose what place you want to put them. In this case, we've chosen a place with a cross that's very picturesque, and that's where we're going to have our final Bible tell and our final blessing. So let's go there and talk about that.
All right, so the dads have led their sons on the trust walk blindfolded with just their voices. And when they get about 20 steps from the cross, they approach their sons, or they let their sons get close to them, and they say, son, reach out your hand. And then they grasp the baton, and they lead their sons in silence the rest of the way to the cross. And instruct the dads that it's one dad and son pair at a time. So they wait their turn. And meanwhile, the son is blindfolded and wondering what's going on. And then the dad, when he finally gets to the cross, he says, son, reach out your other hand. And the son, until he finds the cross. And once he's got the baton in one hand and the cross in the other, the symbol of dad being there for son and God always being there for son, then dad reaches up, takes off the blindfold, lets the son see what he's got a hold of, and then he leads him away somewhere where they talk about the talking points that are on the discussion sheet that you've sent to them via email or handed out at the orientation session, and that you reviewed with them just at the start of this walk.
That's a powerful experience, as you can tell. When they all get back together, it's nice to do maybe a whole group debrief, just a little bit, and talk to the sons. Sons, tell us, what did that feel like? Tell us some of your stories. What happened? What do you think that means? What kind of symbol is it of? Let the kids bring some of that out, and let them share their wisdom with their dads as well. That sets you up for the Bible Tell. The Bible Tell comes from John 10, the Good Shepherd passage. And when you give this passage, you are describing to them, and remember, some of these kids and dads may not have a relationship with Christ of full trust and confidence. They maybe haven't listened to his voice. So you can follow the sheet that we give you that'll guide you through that talk, but know this, that your objective is to make an invitation for people to come to the Good Shepherd. Why is he the Good Shepherd? He laid down his life for the flock, for you and you and you. He gave his life on the cross so that we would have life with him forever, life here and life in heaven. And that concludes with a prayer of invitation, asking that we would better, all of us, listen to his voice and follow his voice, and particularly if we've never met him as the Good Shepherd, an invitation to do so. After the Bible Tell, then we conclude with a blessing event. And for that blessing event, we ask the fathers and the sons to hang on to their baton, and we're going to read them a poem. And the poem is a picture of what this retreat has been about. We're passing on what it means to be a man of God. It doesn't mean that we're perfect. It doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes, but it does mean this: we're going to keep on pursuing this race that God has called us to. And we've got someone for us always, not just our Heavenly Father, but our earthly Father. The race is a powerful poem. You need to have someone read that out loud to everyone while they listen. And then after that, it's time to gather in a circle and let the fathers stand behind their sons, pass the baton, when they do, one at a time, and pray a blessing. I bless you, Mike, to be a man of God. Be courageous, be honorable, be faithful to the end. I pray that God would use your personality of caring and compassion that you bless so many people with to be his representative and make a big mark in this world. That's a very simple blessing. And that's passed around the group. And at the end of it, hoo-ha! You're a man of God.
We speak together the mantra. Hands up. We're practicing what we're going to do in church the next day.
Yes.
Be a man of God. Be courageous. Be honorable. Be faithful to the end. Hoo-ah! And that will generate an applause in almost any church.
Have a great retreat.